It's 12 after 1 o'clock Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Zambian authorities have cancelled a controversial mining license given to a private company to set up a mine in the national park Lower Zambezi. Initially, government in 2013 had granted the mining license to the private firm Mwembeshi Resources to mine in the national park, which shares borders with Zimbabwe's Mana Pool National Park. But the action faced resistance from environmental activists and organizations who contested that the national park would lose its natural embodiment and environmental degradation and pollution despite works having been started, works in the national park. But now the regulatory authority, ZEMA, has cancelled the mine license, citing various concerns. The mine has failed to meet in its execution of the mining activities in the national park. Details in this new report by Zambia correspondent Arthur Davis Sukopo in Lusaka.
The debate of setting up a mine in one of Zambia's exquisite national parks, the Lower Zambezi, that is home to a number of wildlife and key in the country's tourism sector, can now be said to be closed unless other concerns arise. Founded in 1983, Lower Zambezi National Park sits on a 4,092 square kilometer area along the bank of the Zambezi River, where Lusaka province borders Zimbabwe on the south. It is a matter that has been the talk for years. Yes, as far back as 2012, the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, initially rejected the proposed mining inside the Lower Zambezi National Park on the basis that environmental and social impact assessment was not sufficient. But 2 years later, in 2014, then Minister of Lands and Natural Resources and Environmental Protection, Harry Kalaba, allowed an appeal by Mwembeshi Resources, the mining firm, against ZEMA's rejection, thereby overturning ZEMA's rejection. A number of processes have since taken place, and in 2021, Green Economy Minister Collins Nzovu was quoted in local media to have consented to a go-ahead, and Zambians, through many environmental activists and environmental advocating organizations, fought through legal processes. Meanwhile, Mwembeshi Resources Limited had already started works in the Lower Zambezi National Park, but now, in a letter dated 24th August 2023, the regulatory authority, ZEMA, has now cancelled the mine license, citing various concerns the mine has failed to meet in its execution of the mining activities in the Lower Zambezi National Park. This has come to so much delight from critical stakeholders with civil society organizations under the banner Save Zambezi, Save Zambezi, from which World Wide Fund for Nature, or WWF's Fungai Musana, is making these remarks.
This is the right decision by ZEMA and by the government. It reflects very well on the environmental oversight in Zambia, and I must say this is also victory for the local communities that rely on farming, fishing and tourism for their livelihoods in Zambia. It is also a victory for the neighboring countries such as Zimbabwe and Mozambique, and not to mention the environment and the wildlife in all these areas.
And conservation advocates Zambia, through Mululi Malisa, shares this.
We have to commend the government of the Republic of Zambia, the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, for taking a bold step and putting an end to what we would call impunity that was happening in the Lower Zambezi National Park. We hope that this step by government sends a clear message to all investors that Zambia is a country that is governed by the rule of law. We also hope that the government goes a step further and passes legislation that will ban mining or any sort of industry in protected areas.
And according to Oliver Shalala, Mwembeshi Resources Limited Communications lead, the company would not comment as for now, as they are still studying the matter. Reporting for the SABC Channel Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, I'm Arthur Davis, Scopo.
It is 16 after 1 o'clock Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. While the recently held BRICS Summit was hailed a success, the South African National Informal Trade